Let's get it. All right, I guess it's my turn to weigh into the text message debacle. I've seen a couple videos from different creators, and I've gotten some different perspectives as to what they believe was going on. So I have some information already, and to be honest with you, I'm pretty much sticking with my original thought, my gut feeling, but in true form and fashion, I'm going to have to bring a couple receipts to support what I'm saying. At least so you can see where my mindset is coming from so that I can explain my position more clearly. Now, before I get into it, I would simply ask that if you guys are enjoying my content, you go ahead and give me that thumbs up. It lets me know that you guys are enjoying what I'm doing. Also, if you're not yet subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It's not a big click for you, but for me, it's a huge click. And it really helps a brother out. That's why we call it the HBO special, baby. So go ahead and give me that HBO special by clicking the subscribe button, ringing the bell for notifications, and you will be notified when I upload content just like this, as well as when I go live. Speaking of going live, I have two big events happening this weekend. On Sunday, I'm doing the after show party after Sister Wives. 15 minutes after it airs, I go live and we start talking about the foolishness. What I find is when you are confronted with such craziness, such foolishness, and just such tomfoolery, you have to check in with other normal people just to make sure you're not crazy. So that's what we do. It's a great community. The chat box is all the way live. We have a lot of fun, very supportive group. Love my community. Also, on Monday, I'll be hanging out with Sarah Howe from Reality Squad and Amanda from Reality Amanda, and we're going to go to Sister Lives and have a huge discussion about this foolishness on this tell-all. It's going to be a lot of fun, so come check it out. All right, let's get it. Now, like I said, I wanted to talk about the foolishness that occurred during the breakdown in the debacle over the text message when the children from the Brown family, I call them children, and that's actually being very liberal because some of these children are grown-ass adults. Like Logan is 29 years old. He's almost 30. Like, this dude is heading into middle age. He's on express train to, middle-aged adulthood. So he's got about 10 years out, and he's right there in the golden spot. So this is what we're dealing with. So you have Logan at 29, and I think the youngest child is somewhere around 6 or 7 years old. And so there's a huge spread because there's so many children. Now, with all that in mind, the children have historically created a tradition amongst themselves where they do a gift exchange. And this is merely a continuation of that gift exchange, where the kids are starting to get involved. Now, because of the breakdown of the family with Christine leaving and then Cody and Janelle getting into a huge argument. Mary, she's not even around. She's kind of hanging on at this point, just showing up, kind of like as she describes it as the third wheel. But with all these things going on and all the changes within the family, not to mention some of the kids are going off, starting their own families, starting their own traditions. The family was still trying to get together and hold on to these old-time traditions that they had of the Pollyanna. Now, while they were doing the text message, trying to organize who's going to get who for what, or whatever, Robyn jumps on the line, and she comes up with a big idea about jumping on a Zoom call because her kids don't know what the older brothers and sisters look like. This devolves into a whole argument, and from a perspective of one of my fellow YouTubers, they came up with the idea or notion that Robyn might have been less of a villain in this situation. In fact, she was justified because, to their account, she was merely trying to make sure her younger kids were apart and they recognized and knew their older siblings. Now, when it comes to that situation, I can see their point and I can see where they're coming from. However, I also take into account that when you're dealing with selfish people in your life, and I'm not even going to try to do the classification as far as narcissism or narcissist or whatever the case may be. I just know that when I deal with selfish people, and I will leave it there, I recognize that no matter what you have going on, what the situation is, what the event is, what the occasion is, they will always try to make it into a situation where they become the center of attention. You could be getting together for your birthday and all of a sudden they want to start talking about things that are going on with them. You get in a car accident and you call Robyn up, she's at home, her car is sitting in the driveway, you comforting her because your car is totaled. This is the weirdness that's going on. So from what my perspective of it is that there was a situation early on in episode 3 or 4 where Robyn and Mary were out having a conversation and they were talking about the separation of the parties or the holidays and how everybody is celebrating differently and in different places and how the family was supposed to be the nucleus. Everybody was supposed to come back and celebrate Christmas at Robyn and Cody's house. That's the plan. And even though the family is dissolved and is broke apart, they're still supposed to come back and celebrate the holidays with them because Robyn wants to be the center of attention. One of the things that Janelle had mentioned when they were doing the party and with Christine was that the parties and everything, the holidays just seemed so easy because there wasn't a whole lot of drama. The drama I think they were referring to was specifically Robyn and Cody because when you put them in the mix, everything has to revolve around them. They have to be in the middle of it. This is reflected when you talk about Robyn saying she speaks Cody or Codanese or whatever, and she tries to get the kids to go through her to deal with their father. This is her putting herself in the middle of that situation. And so you'll see that pattern reemerging and reemerging. Now, of course, I understand the perspective of my fellow YouTubers who say, well, but James, she's merely looking out for her minor children. I would say this. I think that there is a possibility that she would use her minor children as a means and method to call the other children in, as an excuse to get the other children to come to her to deal with her. She'll use them as an excuse so that she can put herself, plant herself right in the middle of the conversation, which she did because essentially because of her suggestion, she blew up the text message. She blew up the whole exchange because of her suggestion. The first thing that I wanted to point out was Robyn's position when it came to the separation of the family when it comes to the holidays. Let's take a look.
I don't care what anybody else is doing. That's just a cheap version of what our family was. I don't care how many presents you give. And I don't care how many special foods you make. Or how many fancy houses you rent. Or anything like that. It's a cheap version. And these kids, they know it.
It's a cheap version. Why is it a cheap version? Because she's not involved. The family did get together. It just wasn't with Cody and Robyn. Part of the family did get together and they enjoyed each other's company. They had a meal. They had a fancy house like Robyn was complaining about. But her problem and the basis of her problem is that they weren't celebrating at her house. They weren't surrounding her. She wasn't in the middle of the mix. And I can understand why some of the kids very well may say, you know what, I don't want to do the Zoom call, so I'll use the excuse that I'm on the East Coast and the time difference and I got to get into bed and it's too late or whatever the case may be. Because would you tell somebody who is full of drama, look, I don't want to get on the phone with you because you're just going to turn our gift exchange that's really between us, the older kids, this is our thing, into you and how you feel bad that the family's not getting together and how we should come over to your house and celebrate with you and, forget my mama, forget Janelle and forget Christine because they're horrible people and we need to come celebrate with you because that's where the true Christmas is and you guys are apparently the harbingers of the Christmas spirit and that's the only way that I can enjoy the holidays. So I can see why the kids may very well try to avoid that big confrontation and that big conversation because if they do tell the truth, and this is part of the problem when you're dealing with people who are full of drama, the second you tell them the truth or what you're thinking or how you feel or what your position is, all of a sudden it becomes a huge problem. It becomes the big explosion and all of a sudden you hate me and you never like me and you've been trying to destroy me and you've always been against me and all that. I just don't want to talk to you that way. Or maybe there are hard feelings. Now, this kind of flows into the idea of something that Robyn had shared with Suki while she was sitting on the tell-all couch, and this is what she had to say.
What had happened was I was being told that the kids hated me.
In the text thread?
No, before that I was being told that the kids hate me and my kids.
Who was telling you that?
A person.
Who was telling you that, Robyn? A person. A person was telling me that the kids all hate me. So the kids all hate you, and you get it in your mind that it's a good idea for you to jump onto a text thread and try to talk to a bunch of people that hate your guts. Even though there's a possibility that these kids, with your absence, could have a relationship or a conversation amongst each other. These siblings could maintain and develop their relationship the way that it should be. Now, of course, you could make the argument that, well, the younger kids are also siblings. Yes, and these kids are not in jail. So they can get more phone calls than just this one Zoom call or just this one holiday call dealing with the Pollyanna. If Robyn was that interested in making sure her younger kids know who these older kids were and that they had a relationship with them, what she should do is she should be the adult, and instead of trying to facilitate things on a directed text message chain, trying to turn it into a Zoom call, you start calling these kids individually so that way your kids can start developing a relationship with them. That's more productive to me. If you genuinely want them to have a relationship with, say, Hunter, you don't put Hunter on the screen with 15, 16 other kids, 15, 16 other screens, and expect your 7-year-old to develop a relationship with one of these message boxes. You start calling him on a weekly basis. You start calling him at least once, twice a week, maybe once or twice a month, who knows? But you have to do something more than the text message. This is what Hunter was trying to explain, and this is where I say that I think I'm more in line with what the kids may very well have been thinking. A phone call, a text message, a Zoom meeting is not going to make these kids know who I am. We're not going to be any closer once we hang up from the call. The only difference is I'm going to sit here for a little while and listen to you prattle on about how evil Christine was and how she blew the family up and how you don't understand anything. This also goes to the fact that when I listen to Robyn and she gives her description, time after time after time, I wish I had the patience to go through how many times just in this one interview Robyn was caught lying. Somebody had told her something, but she doesn't want to say who it is. McKelty said it wasn't her. So are we to believe that it's Cody? And of course, if Cody is saying that the kids hate her guts, then what is going on? Do the kids actually hate you? Or is this one of those in your mind things? Because how many times have we been listening to her sit there on that couch and say, well, in my mind, we're all still sister wives. In my mind, even though Christine is fully getting married, engaged at this time, but then later gets married to another dude, she's still married to Cody in my mind. She's still my sister wife in my mind. In my mind, there was never a problem. In her mind, she had no idea that there was a problem up until the time she has this conversation on a text message. Now, all of a sudden, the kids never liked her kids and her kids never got along with anybody. According to her, a few episodes ago, everything was great and she didn't know there was any problem. Her kids were welcomed with open arms. When they were adopting her kids, they stripped the father's rights, natural father's rights away from her kids, dating Aurora and Brianna. She said that it was like a big, huge family and they all love her and they're open arm welcoming her kids and they're so welcoming and so great. Now all of a sudden, everybody hated her kids from the beginning. You got to pick a lane. You got to pick a story and stick to it. And so when you're dealing with somebody who is that, you don't know whether they're telling the truth, it's hard for me to fall in line and say that, okay, this is what they should have done. They should have made sure that her youngest kids were adhered to, and this is why they should have did a Zoom call. So I have complications with that. So it's hard for me to get on Robyn's side wholly with that idea. Now, finally, let's listen to her describe how the Zoom call blew up.
I was just being told this, and so when I was trying really hard to get us on a video call for the sake of the little kids, because this experience of this gift exchange is like a really memorable experience for some of the kids. And my little kids aren't remembering who their siblings are. They don't know their names. They don't remember whose name goes with what. And when I started getting kicked back, I just went, why am I trying here?
Again, your kids need to have a constant reminder of who these people are. If you want them to have a relationship with them, you have to build a relationship. Relationships aren't built one holiday at a time. If they only get together twice a year, they aren't going to develop a sibling-like relationship with these older kids. That time is going to be lost. And all you're doing is wicking off or burning off time if you want these relationships to happen. Now, here's my takeaway. One of the things that I notice about people who are extremely selfish is that they study humanity. They're students of humanity. A lot of times because of their awkward nature or because they don't quite fit in, or they have certain issues with adjustment, they mimic a lot of things that they see. They mimic emotion. You're supposed to feel this way when this happens, and they learn to create that type of drama, these types of circumstances, these excuses, so that they can gather and gain your trust. They can gather and gain your sympathy, your empathy, your emotion, your compassion, so that they can use that to manipulate you. And it's not that they're feeling bad, it's just a tool. It's merely a tool that they use. Now, part of the awkward delivery of them trying to apply the observations that they make is just simply put, they don't really feel it. And because you don't necessarily feel it for yourself, when you try to emulate it, you're using logic. The funny thing about emotion is that it's not a logical experience. Like, you don't logically start crying. You cry because you feel a certain way. And if you don't have those feelings, or you don't care, or this isn't up your, it's not really important to you, but you realize that you can get some advantage if you did feel something in this vein, you may try to emulate that emotion. But it may be too much. It may be like to the point of, you're just sitting on a couch and all of a sudden you just cry at the least little thing, and, hysterically. It's at that level. So I think that the kids are kind of combating with that. Now, let me know what you guys think about my assessment. Hey, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I got it all wrong. Maybe Robyn is the hero of the story and I'm just misreading it. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. That's my take. I'm James. This has been My Take on Reality, and I'm out. 'Cause I've been living life right like I could just die.